If we think that the UK is a mass of corruption and chaos, we only have to look across at Europe to see the fallout from, what should we call it, Qatargate, and the corruption involved in cash for questions. Mark Tarabella, I think his name was, Mark Tarabella, who has been, I think he's now released on house arrest. The vice president, the European Parliament vice president, Eva Kaili, and Andrea Cozzolino, all of them now under house arrest. But, there's Panzieri, Pier Antonio Panzieri was a former MEP who was suspected of being the ringleader of the whole corruption scan. He said that Tarabella had accepted 140,000 euros in bribes in exchange for influencing Parliament in the Qatar issues. And Panzieri, had admitted guilt. He was also under house arrest, and I presume he struck some sort of deal. But he said that Tarabella had always maintained his innocence, but it doesn't seem to have had that much effect. His immunity was lifted. The Belgian authorities investigated. The whole thing is a nest of worms, a horrible mess, really. And what does this tell us? Does it tell us anything of interest, except that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely? It doesn't matter what the organ of state, national or international, may be. It seems to invite the corruption and the chaos of subversion, and this is where I think the importance of satire, the importance of probing questions, the importance of a certain amount of distance comes in. Everybody should be scrutinized, and people's words should be examined, not taken too seriously. Nothing should be taken too seriously, because in the end, most people don't mean what they say. Most people have a sort of stab at meaning. In the case of Suella Braverman and Priti Patel and Liz Truss and Dominic Gard, that stab is pretty hopeless, but we should add Matt Hancock there as well. But it is a stab at meaning, and very often people sort of find themselves, I think, waylaid into defending something that they said by accident, but they're too proud to back out. And I think equally, people get cornered into a situation where, again, they feel too proud to back out because they are seen as the authority. I think being seen as the authority, being seen as the person in charge, that is the problem. And that's where a healthy amount of humour can perhaps keep people grounded. I think that's the lesson we can learn from looking at the life and the approach to life that the late Queen had, that she seemed to have a healthy dose of humour and disrespect for the job, for the incidentals of the job, and at the same time she had a healthy recognition that the form of the job was important. So the form is important. The content changes all the time, and the individuals propelling that content along are in such an effort to get it right that they regularly fall flat on their face. Liz Truss, dare we say Liz Truss? Liz Truss with her hands. Just extraordinary. And if there's a time to leave the stage or learn some new tricks, could somebody please give Liz Truss some advice on what to do with her hands? I think she actually needs to be taken away to a hand camp so that she can actually learn to use her hands in some sort of constructive way. All this up and down movement, frankly, watching her just for a few minutes makes me feel seasick. Does that take us back to Suella Braverman and the small boats? Possibly. Put Liz Truss in a boat and she'd paddle the thing with great panache, wouldn't she? It would be like looking at... what did you do, Liz Truss? You are an illegal immigrant. You gesticulated across the channel. Poor Liz Truss. Anyway, she's in the US at the moment. I think she gesticulated her way across the Atlantic. But people take themselves too seriously. They need to be brought down a peg or two, as indeed they have in the European Parliament.